Daylight savings time, it's arriving this weekend and we fall back an hour. This is in the Northern Hemisphere, notoriously in the United States, where most of us, if not all of us, are losing an hour. We fall back an hour. So 5 o'clock becomes 4 o'clock. And it's really the time of year where it starts to be dark around 5 o'clock. It'll continue to be darker until the winter solstice around December 21st, where we start to gain daylight. Why is a psychic coming to you, talking to you about daylight savings time? Well, I just don't consider myself a psychic medium. I consider myself a spiritual advisor, counselor, and I do firmly believe that our emotional and our mental health really intertwine and overlap with our spiritual health. What happens in our mental health affects our spiritual and emotional health, and vice versa, and all the way around, even our physical health. So I do think that it's important right now to look at daylight savings time from a couple of different places. The first, well, it's happening. We're going to fall back an hour and it's going to start to get dark. There have been plenty of studies that have proven that there is an increase in heart attacks and strokes and auto accidents and all sorts of health effects. It's not a healthy thing, and I think it's really just another example of how ultimately the United States government does not have our best interests at heart. If they did, I don't believe that we would be going through such nonsense. With that being said, we have to go through it. Most of us in the United States are going through that. To that end, I think it's important to talk about probably one of the biggest principles that I personally have: vitamin joy. Vitamin joy. A lot of people have heard of SAD, or seasonal affective disorder, when the seasons change, it gets darker, colder. A lot of us fall into a funk. Ultimately, in the same way that we need to take care of our body and to take multivitamins and make sure that we're getting all the minerals and nutrients for our body, we have to get joy, vitamin joy, for our spirit, for our heart, our emotional and mental health. I want you to look at this upcoming winter as an opportunity to make sure that you're getting that. Let's look at the 4 different parts of a human being. Now, there's all sorts of parts of a human being, but let's consider ourselves a table with 4 table legs. We have our body, we have our heart, our emotions, we have our mind, our mental health, and we have our spirit. Each of those have different needs, boundaries, wants, and each of those are as different as everybody walking around this planet. What my mind needs is not necessarily something what another person needs. But really, let's look into what you need emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually, and make sure that you're getting all the medicine that you need. For your body, you're going to want to make sure that you're well balanced, well rested, well nourished. For your mind, you might need a counselor, a therapist, a spiritual advisor, somebody to walk you through different perspectives. For your emotional health, you might need a creative outlet like singing or art, and spirituality, your spiritual part's going to benefit from all of that. But you are 4 different parts, and those 4 different parts are going to have different needs, wants. That is especially important when it comes to your health during the dark half of the year. I think it's vital that we all understand that. I'm not doing any tarot cards today. I'm just called to bring this message to folks in the way that joy and vitamin joy is going to be different to each person. This can be trips. This can be the Norwegian or Swedish idea of hygge. Hygge is that idea of kind of nesting and being really comfortable, with the cocoa and the blankets, and, affecting our home in the way that it brings us a lot of that sort of nesting, homey feel. It could be trips, like I said. It could be art. There's going to be all sorts of different things. Whatever it is, though, you're going to need it. You're going to need it. But let's look at the dark half of the year in a different way. As much as we all might struggle with it, I think it's important to acknowledge that it serves a purpose. In the same way that even some of our lesser emotions can serve a purpose and help motivate us towards something, imagine if the world didn't turn and we were exposed to the sun at all times. Well, everything would be a desert. We couldn't have summer all the time. We have to have winter. Things need to go dormant. And in the same way that Daffodil bulbs and garlic bulbs get planted in the fall. They've got to get frozen to regenerate in the spring. As much as we do need joy to make it through the dark half of the year, let's lean into the idea that we should have a resting period, a period of dormancy, like trees, like bears. And I do think that's something that we don't honor. I think a lot of us try to keep up in the same way throughout December, January as we do in June and July. Summer is really the time of being active. Lots of daylight, lots of things going on. The weather is more conducive to it. But winter, it's a time of rest and introspection and hibernation, if you will. I think that we all struggle because we sort of go against the grain. Our culture, our world, it doesn't recognize that. It doesn't. It recognizes that we need to be going and moving and producing and going and moving and producing as much as possible. So let's lean into that idea of rest. Let's lean into that idea of calibration and hibernation. And as we do, let's make sure that we're maintaining our joy. That's why I think Christmas, Yule, midwinter happens the darkest time of the year, because we need the lights and the colors and the tastes and the smells to lift our spirit. But our spirit should also recognize that it's necessary to rest. That's why we go to sleep. That's why we have night in the winter. It's appropriate for us to rest. So daylight savings time is on its way. Please take a few moments to think about what you can do in the big scale. Like, what are the vacations that you might want to go on? What are the trips that you might want to take? What are the holiday celebrations that you might want to plan? But also, let's look at vitamin joy in the short term, in the small doses. An episode of The Golden Girls. Just something really quick and easy that you can pop on, check out for a moment, find some joy and find some laughter, and then go back to what life requires of you. With that being said, thank you for listening, and I hope this helps. I hope it serves as a good reminder. Remember, daylight savings time, vitamin joy, and we have to recognize how important it is to get our rest. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you through the darkness.